finish. Consumers find a way inside your business. Babble if they try to dabble in it, and they hate the fact that they may have to witness. You tryna aim for the top like this, and you're in your element with a fire like this, and they hoping you fall and they praying you miss, but it's all in the risk. I got you with the switch, you know.
Israel Adesanya constantly places his life in the context of other media. Movies, anime, video games, stories in which he sees these grand narratives playing out.
My life's a movie.
My life is a movie. My life is an anime.
Bro, my life is a video game, man.
If it wasn't an anime.
And the mind does not know what's the difference between reality and fantasy sometimes.
Well, it's a good thing he's a fighter and not a psychiatrist. If your mind can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy, that's kind of a red flag. Israel probably thinks some Pokemon he's watching is a documentary. That's just what it's like over in Japan. But of course, he's the main character in his movie. Israel doesn't have an internal monologue like the rest of us. He's got the director's commentary playing inside his head.
Player One is a title that we can all learn to grasp and hold the control of our own lives. Player One.
I met a lot of people.
I'm not a bot.
You see me try some that I've seen in cartoons or video games, and I'll pull it out in the octagon because I can do it. I blur the lines between reality and fantasy. I am that line, the last stylebender.
I'm not an NPC. I don't roll around and just, well, this is nice today, isn't it? Press A. Like, I don't play that.
Very funny how Israel characterizes the rich internal world and the profound reflections of the average man.
Look at me. I'm the one with waterboard, well, this is nice today, isn't it?
Bro, the world needs drones. Bro, the world needs drones.
But for a solid movie, you need a solid arc. And for that, the main character is gonna have to face some adversity. Forget about glancing blows. Life is gonna have to land a couple haymakers. One of the funnier things Israel used to say while placing his life in the context of a movie was to frame any minor low as representing the low of his life's movie.
This is the dip in my story, the valiant, if you will. Yeah, because I didn't have to fight Romero, remember that. And then I rise up again, like the phoenix that I am. But then I told him I want Romero because I want to prove a point. Yeah, so this was my valley. This is my valley because there was all this hype about this fight that was going to be exciting.
Well, here's a spoiler. The Yoel Romero fight is not a pivotal plot point in any movie. That's what you leave out of the movie. That's not even a good YouTube video. You'd struggle to make a compelling tweet about it.
MMA's the theater of the unpredictable. Weird round one.
But luckily, for any potential movie producers, that wasn't the extent of the adversity Israel would face. Not by a long shot. The great trial of Israel's career was coming. A worthy adversary was on the way. In fact, his true nemesis would be a very familiar face. The first time he faced Alex Pereira, Israel was already making waves in his kickboxing career. He was recognized as an elite talent and a cerebral fighter on a rise. Alex had much less obvious potential. He had an unremarkable record of 13-4, and he didn't possess the same standout technical skill that Israel had. You could be forgiven for believing his ceiling in the sport might be as a solid gatekeeper. But that would all change. The two men first met in China. Israel has always maintained this was a bad decision, and it certainly could have gone either way. But Alex got the nod, and in that, Israel had lost what would turn out to be a pivotal coin flip in his life. That decision didn't immediately change either fighter's trajectory. Alex continued in his win-some, lose-some career cadence, going a lackluster 1-1 in his next two fights. While in the same time frame, Israel reeled off 7 consecutive victories, which gave him a shot at the Glory Middleweight belt. Israel lost that fight, and critically, in another decision he felt he won.
The ones like that where I felt like, even though I wasn't my A game, I still won. Those are the ones that hurt the most. We both knew. After the fight, you and the other guy know who won. But he was like there, you saw his head hanging low, and his coach had to come and like raise his hand to like pump him up.
So at this stage, their first fight may have seemed like it was a coin flip of little consequence. But coming out of his title loss was an ideal time for Israel to rectify the judge's mistake. And so the two met again, this time in Brazil. Israel was well on his way to redeeming himself, and showing that he is the better fighter. He beat Alex senseless, almost had him out of there, but Israel feels the impact of the two decisions messed with his head, made him afraid to leave it to the judges.
I was younger and I was silly. I let the fight previous to that, when I fought for the world title in kickboxing, I got ripped off as well. I let those things get to me, and then when I had him on the ropes in that moment, I was like, right, I'm not leaving it to the judges. I'm gonna finish the fight. And that's never been my mentality. I blew my load a little bit, and then the third round, he knew he did his work.
Well, Alex not only hung in there, but knowing he was behind in the third and final round, it was kill or be killed. Israel must have thought he got hit by everything from Dragon Ball A to Dragon Ball Z. I mean, if his life's a movie, he should have brought in a stunt double for this scene. He was concerned about the judges doing their job. He should have been more worried about the performance of the fucking paramedics. And this time, the two careers were, undeniably, forever changed. The perception in the sport is that this win gave Alex the confidence to take his career to the next level, down a spectacular path of destruction at the very highest level. He not only succeeded in becoming a Glory champion, but he picked up belts in 2 weight classes, defending his middleweight belt a record 5 times, before snapping up the light heavyweight belt, which put him pretty damn high on the list of top pound-for-pound kickboxers on the planet. It was also a turning point for Israel. Alex didn't exactly knock him out of the sport. Israel was already totally committed to the idea that his career was always headed to the octagon. But he later confirmed that the Alex knockout loss accelerated things. It essentially put an emphatic full stop on that part of his life.
I let go of this a long time ago, a long time. I made peace with this a long time ago because, the knockout loss made me stronger. I made peace with it because I just thought like, oh, well, that's kickboxing done.
And we all know what happened there. Rapid rise, while Pereira was holding both the middleweight and light heavyweight belts in glory. But the two men now seemed separated by a chasm. Both guys had moved on to incredible things. Both outstanding champions, but in different sports and in different organizations. And so, they all lived happily ever after. Well, not quite. Around that time, Izzy made a bold prediction.
At the end of the day, no one knows who the he is. And he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub.
Now, let's just hope Alex isn't hanging around bars in 20 years. That'd be a disaster for everyone. As we know, Alex started working at age 13, and he says at one point he was drinking a liter of rum a day on the job. Thank God his job wasn't anything important with potentially fatal consequences, like performing heart surgery or changing tires.
I had no money. I started working at a tire shop. Mechanic tire shop. Guys drink. I was young.
Alpha. That must be the only tire shop in the world where if you hear the phrase, pass the screwdriver, you know they're talking about the fucking cocktail. Sounds like Alex was the worst thing to happen to road safety since the invention of the text message. I wouldn't trust him to change a light bulb in that state. He probably couldn't even change his own underpants, not to mind a tire.
Many people sometimes they could control themselves. I could not, so...
Yeah, float like a butterfly, drink like a fish. His boozing continued well into his fight career. Most corners bring a stool. For Alex, they used to bring a toilet into the ring for him to stick his head in between the rounds.
He was still drinking, trying to manage both together for the first 4 years. He was actually on a contract with Showtime and still drinking. And they I cannot get both together, so he just quit drinking and follow his drink.
But the idea that Alex might have fallen off the wagon in 20 years wasn't the offensive part of Israel's prediction. It was that Alex would be in that bar talking about him. Like that would be the highlight of his life. Not the glory career, not the double champ and pound-for-pound status. Instead, he would forever be reminiscing about the time he knocked out the great Israel Adesanya.
And he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub talking some shit about, I beat that guy one time.
Well, Alex might be drinking in a bar in 20 years, or in a tire shop. Guy probably gets thirsty just thinking about tires. But fortunately for us, that's not the story he'll be telling. The story Alex will be telling will be far more interesting, because these guys weren't quite finished with each other. Fate was still hammering away on the final draft of this screenplay, and the whole saga was shaping up to be fucking epic. Alex left the sport of kickboxing at the top, but he was a very different proposition to what Israel had been. Israel actually had a pretty typical level of mixed martial art experience before signing with the UFC. He had like 11 wins over 5 years, including against some wrestlers. He had 0 losses and was only 28 years old. The UFC could have easily signed Israel without even considering his kickboxing career. Alex, on the other hand, had very little MMA experience. He had been submitted, and he was already 34 years old. So just think about the decision for Alex. It took some real confidence for the guy to walk away from glory at the top and switch sports that late in his career. You know, he doesn't really have the years to develop. This either works first time, or he could be falling flat in his face. It was a massive leap of faith. Could have easily turned into a massive flop of faith. In his third UFC fight, Alex faced Sean Strickland in a title eliminator. On the same card, Izzy defended against Jared Cannonier. So they set the stage. Izzy notched up a lackluster defense against Cannonier. Emphasis immediately shifted to Izzy versus Pereira 3, with the general sentiment being, let's throw something at Israel he can't dodge quite so easily.
This is probably the greatest storyline in MMA history. It spanned across years, 2 different combat codes, spanned across different countries.
I'm on board with this. I think this rivalry is right up there. But I think the language barrier did cost us some entertainment. Personalities clashing is always such a great part of it, and can really up the stakes. Alex, coming from his background, could have been a very funny foil for Israel's personality. You know, Israel is pop culture. WWE, anime, rap, movies, all the normal references of a first world middle-class child of his generation. And so one of the lines he had, which we heard many times, was, "I'm gonna leave him frozen like Elsa," for which Alex had a very funny comeback.
He said he's going to leave you frozen like Elsa.
No, he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm gonna froze you, froze this." Like, for me, it makes no sense. I don't even watch cartoon. What are you gonna do? You're gonna put me on the fridge? Like,
Freezing me. What are we, fighting in the kitchen all of a sudden? If he tries to put me in a freezer, I'm gonna bash him over the head with a fucking frying pan. I'd love to have seen that dichotomy play out a little more.
he spent a childhood watching cartoons. I spent my childhood working on a tire shop, trying to make money and provide for my family for a better life. I didn't watch no cartoons.
Yeah, Alex's manager is funny. He says that line with a real tough guy delivery. But it's hard to sound tough when the thing you're talking about is that you don't watch kids' cartoons.
When he comes and say, "Oh, I'm gonna leave you frozen," and all this kind of stuff, like, yo, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Frozen, it makes no difference from me. I don't watch no cartoons.
Mutant Turtles of the teenage variety, Mickey the Mouse and his animated friends. I don't care, make no difference to me. I don't watch no cartoons. That's how tough I am. Israel's good in the mic. He's witty, good speaker. If you engage him like that, he'll probably get the better of you. But the juxtaposition of these two could have been as stark as placing a tough, rusty block of steel next to a marshmallow. And I don't even mean that disrespectfully. Alex was basically a middle-aged functional alcoholic as a child. Probably had 2 ex-wives by the time he was 10. He certainly wasn't watching a Disney Channel. So it was unfortunate about the language barrier. Israel was smart enough to recognize the futility of engaging in mind games. Trying to insult someone who has already knocked you out is like leaving a bad Yelp review on a gym because the Zumba instructor stole your girlfriend. You know, there's nothing you can say that's gonna unbang that drum.
That's all wasted energy. Because again, he's got bragging rights and he's already beat me. So he has like this self-belief that I can do it again. So I'm like, I bet. I'm like, yeah, you do you. I don't have to say much, but I will speak when it's time with violence.
Israel had that clip of him getting knocked out buzzing around social media for years, with the narrative Alex bested him twice. And so Izzy was more fixated on the details rather than the results of those fights, asserting that the better fighter lost on both occasions.
Up in the first fight, the judges gave it to him. Second fight, I had him on skates, and I made a judgment call, an error in my part.
And so this was his opportunity to finally set the record straight and show who the better fighter truly is.
He who laughs last, laughs best, and I'm gonna have the last laugh.
First thing that stood out at the weigh-ins was that Alex is a monster. Israel is big for the weight class. Alex is outrageous. He must have consulted the local shaman for this one, who told him all about the sacred Atkins diet. Looks like the last carb this guy seen was a carburetor down a local tire shop. Guy is huge. Now, I love fights like this. Constant threat of a thunderclap finish. You're afraid to blink. Alex looked great right off the bat, landing some heavy leg kicks. But at the end of the first, Izzy stings him badly. Couple more seconds to that round and the fight was likely over. Round 2 competitive. Alex bounced back, lands some huge shots, and seals it with a late takedown. He's not done yet. Round 3 starts the same, super tense. But a minute in, Israel lands a takedown. And this is where we see the difference between the two. Super competitive, electrifying fight in the feet. But one of these guys has taken the years to round out their game. Izzy dominated the rest of the round, landing brutal shots. Alex couldn't do anything. He looked about as comfortable as a fish on a menu. And it was a little deflating, because we've seen this a million times. Exciting fight in the feet, but then one fighter works out they've got a decisive advantage on the ground. It just seems so predictable and familiar at this point. You know, fun while it lasted, but there's no reason why Alex isn't done here. And that's what it looked like. They both slowed down in round 4. But it looked like Israel had largely snuffed the fight out of him. He was really pulling away now, taking control of the fight. Before the fight, Israel was saying he wanted to fight a guy who was going to come at him. That was his take on his lackluster title defenses. It wasn't him fighting not to lose, it was his opponents fighting not to get smashed to bits.
Like halfway through the second round, the last 3 guys, they kind of realize, okay, this is not going too well. So they go from trying to beat me to trying to survive and trying not to get knocked out.
You know, it takes 2 to tango, and I'm right there ready to dance. But this next guy, he's ready to dance, so.
Well, after the 4th round, Glover told Alex he needed to finish.
No, you have to knock him out. Listen, you need to knock him out.
And then there was this amazing detail. At the beginning of the 5th, Alex looked across the cage and said, "I'm gonna kill you," which reminded Israel of his own line heading into the 5th round of his epic slugfest with Gastelum.
Yeah, before the 5th, I saw him mouth something. I wasn't sure what it was, but now that I know what it was, I'm like, fuck, that's so poetic because of where I went to as well to win the title. He had to go to, like, I guess a similar place. I felt like I went to a deeper place.
Now, Israel says he felt the line, "I'm prepared to die," came from a deeper place. But even so, Alex's line is such a perfect rebuttal to that. "I'm prepared to die." Well, that's good because I'm gonna fucking kill you. So looks like we're the most perfectly destructive match made in heaven since that German cannibal met that other guy online. And it was another tough scene for Israel's future stunt double. And just like that, Alex Pereira had done something mind-bogglingly impressive. In 4 brutal fights, he was a UFC champion. Oof. And that's tough for Israel. Once again clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. It was difficult to tell how he'd handle this one. You know, we've seen him deal with the Yan loss, and he did so with a lot of grace.
Like I told you guys, I've lost in kickboxing, I've lost in boxing, I've lost in life, I've lost in love, I've lost in family. Like, life is, you know, you don't just win all the time, it's wins and losses, so you roll with the punches.
But that was very different. There were mitigating factors. He was moving up in weight. He was still a champion at middleweight. He didn't have a long history or a bitter rivalry with Yan, and he wasn't finished in a devastating fashion. This was a much different proposition. So what happens when third time's not the charm? Well, there were a lot of encouraging ideas Israel had discussed prior that suggested he'd handle the loss well, starting with a mature perspective on the sport and a healthy sense of identity.
Nah, honestly, man, I forget I'm the champ all the time. I didn't even have a belt with me. A belt somewhere at the gym or somewhere at my coach's house. Like, I never really attached myself to that thing. It's nice, it's fancy. It brings the cheddar. Cheddar makes it better.
There's more to life than fighting. I know who I am, and I'm a champ without the belt. It's just a fancy tiara. I've said that from the jump. I'm not attached to it to the sense that it's my identity, that this is all I am. I know who I am without the belt.
Heading into the fight, Israel had said all the pressure was on Alex.
If you want to see him beat me, go on YouTube. It's got millions of views. That's the worst thing that can happen. So I'm like, it's going to happen again. Cool, whatever. You can look on YouTube. The pressure's on him. Because if he loses to me, all that, he's been talking, everything, he's going to have to pay for it.
Has he been talking?
Now, the idea that the pressure was on Alex in his 4th UFC fight, while he was already sitting on a 2-win lead in their rivalry, was absurd. But the idea that Israel had made peace with the prospect of getting knocked out remain to be seen. He's also someone who has been working with therapists for years, so there is that introspection there.
The one that took me to the next level was therapy. There's been this whole stigma around it, and it's people that I know, people that are smart, geniuses that I know, still won't go to therapy. They won't look after themselves mentally, but when they're sick, they go to the doctor. Not everyone is mentally ill, just like not everyone's physically ill. But if you don't look after your physical health, you're going to get sick. Same thing as if you don't look after your mental health, you're going to get sick. I know the things to do. I know how to surrender even more now. I know how to just let go and not be so attached to the outcome. And don't get me wrong, I've lost many times, but I remain undefeated. Shout out to my boy VDK. That was his quote, rest in peace. But he's told me, I've lost many times, but I remain undefeated, and that's this.
Importantly, Israel has tried to prioritize the thoughts and opinions of people who actually matter in his life.
Same thing, people you have around you, my family, my loved ones, my team. This is it. If I got knocked out in that fight, I would have been knocked out. But guess what? They'll all still love me. The people that actually matter.
A critical perspective to help deal with a big public loss, especially in combination with the following.
That's the bit that hurts me the most, because I felt like something seeped in through the cracks, other people's opinions. And that's one of my affirmations I say. It can't be my business what they think of me.
So try to ignore the whims of the unwashed masses. Only worry about what the people close to you think. Great perspective for someone living in a limelight. You listen to all that and you think, this guy sounds grounded. He'll be fine. But in Israel's personality, there were also some possible concerns, or indicators to the contrary. Israel could say the belt isn't his identity, or it's just a tiara, but that's actually because he felt he was bigger than a belt.
Well, I don't attach myself to this thing, because it doesn't make me. I make the belt. The belt never made me. I make the belt.
So that was more about his own personal greatness overshadowing the belt than necessarily a grounded perspective on the prospect of any losses that might occur. And that was a big thing here. This guy's got an amazing self-image, and that self-image was being tested enormously. One of the things Israel would repeatedly say is that people expected him to handle a loss the way they would handle it.
I think people expect me to handle it the way they would. So they think I'd be in the shadows right now, sad. And
So they project and think I'm probably just
devastated.
and just under a rock or a cave somewhere.
So they're looking at this from their lens, if I was in his position.
Now, on the surface, that soundbite sounds interesting. It sounds cool. People were projecting their own mental weakness onto him. Is it true, though? I don't think it is. First of all, that's not necessarily weakness. We just saw the greatest tennis player of all time burst into tears after losing a Wimbledon final to a prodigy who looks poised to succeed him as the sport's perennial top dog. But those tears, that passion, that's a big part of why he is the greatest of all time. Anything less than number one is unacceptable. In that sense, there are fighters who talk about their careers in grandiose terms. I'm in the history books. I'm gonna be the greatest of all time. Israel is an example of one of these guys. Sees himself right alongside the greats like George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva, and is one day being part of a sporting history as storied and prestigious as boxing.
My name will be remembered in history.
Yeah, funny enough, I was hanging out with my fellow GOAT and avatar, George St. Pierre, in Toronto a few days ago, actually.
I'm always going to be great no matter what. I'm already in the stars, man. I'm already in the stars, but I'm moving to the next galaxy after this.
A loss here, at this point in his career, while he's still very much in his prime, to a guy who he'd already lost to twice in another sport, and who just wandered into MMA at 34, anyone would think this would be an enormous challenge to that self-image. I mean, prior to the fight, he was saying he was happy to catch Alex early in his career.
He's very one-dimensional. He's early on in this game as well. So I'm even glad to get him now. Threat meter, to be honest, as an MMA fighter, I'll give him a 6, if I'm being honest. Completely honest. Threat meter 6.
So this isn't about how others would handle it. This was reasonable expectations about how someone like Israel might handle this. In terms of his identity in the sport, this was a tough loss, and it completely undermined the whole narrative of the better fighter lost in their previous fights. You can't keep saying that. I mean, at some point, the results do matter. So for a multitude of reasons, I couldn't imagine Izzy taking this particular loss on the chin. You'd expect some type of denial here, some excuses, some type of defense mechanisms to kick in, because this was a lot to process. There's also the idea of Israel not caring about what other people think and putting more emphasis on what the people around him think. Now, Israel does act like that. He doesn't seem to care, but he also talks about fame more than any other fighter. He talks about it all the time. So there's always been a sense of, for a guy who says he doesn't care what people think, he certainly talks about them an awful lot. And it's not all positive. I'm not saying he doesn't appreciate his supporters, but he doesn't always paint the most flattering image of the burden fame can be. You've got the sometimes ham-handed fans mindlessly buzzing around his head like brain-dead flies on shit looking for photos and high fives.
I say yes to one, and then 7, it becomes like the zombie apocalypse. And people will see you taking a photo, and then they see, oh, they're mobbing him. They don't even know the UFC or know who you are, but they'll just start wanting to take photos. And
there's a very funny moment where Israel is really overselling just how burdensome and intrusive the fans can be. Like, he's making it sound awful.
Then when you come with entitlement, like you think I owe you some shit.
Logan's buddy is horrified by the sound of this, and he asks Israel for some examples.
What are they asking you for? What are they saying to you?
Oh my God, what are they asking you for? They want you to raise their kids? They're looking for a vial of your blood? Please tell me what these demonic fans are demanding of you. And you can hear the deflated tone in Israel's voice when he has to actually explain what he's talking about.
What are they asking you for? What are they saying to you?
I either want a photo or something.
Photos. Oh my God, not photos. Tell me they're trying to steal your underwear. Tell me they're camped outside your house and going through your trash. But do not tell me they're trying to capture your still image. Oh, those monsters. While a more malevolent group of haters chip away on social media, trying to will his downfall into existence, one mean tweet at a time, and the media circle the whole circus like vultures.
All I'm doing is giving you free money because I know how YouTube works now. And also then you clickbait and then misquote me and then get that clip put on your Instagram. And I'm just like,
so if he already finds fame frustrating or tiring at times when he's winning, it could be an exhausting nightmare after a massive, devastating loss like this. But any lingering questions about Israel's true relationship with fame, this defeat was going to answer them very quickly. Because if he does feel the heat of all the attention, this loss is going to make him feel like an ant under a magnifying glass. For all the reasons I've already mentioned, but there was also a comedic element to it. You saw that in the hilarious memes right away. These jokes put Israel in the humorous position of anything you can do, he's gonna hunt you down and do it bigger and better. So for example, there's a YouTube video where Alex runs into Israel at the airport. One of the top comments is he bought a ticket for first class. So Alex has to sit in the cockpit.
If I do a 26andMe, they'll say I'm from Nigeria. Do a 26andMe DNA test, it'll tell you where you're from. I will show you where you're from.
Now that Israel and Drickus are beefing about nationality, I'm half expecting Alex to blow them both away with a 23andMe showing he's got an impossible 5 African grandparents. So this loss to Alex really was just such a perfectly constructed test of everything Israel claims to represent. His ego and a lot of his personal philosophies would be under pressure here. How would they hold up? Well, in a word, impressively. The haters may have finally had their day in terms of watching Israel getting smashed, but that's all he let them have. He didn't give them another minute of him wallowing in self-pity. He showed up to the press conference. Now, you could tell he was still a little out of it. It looked like he may have accidentally stumbled in a Jennifer Lopez dressing room. I mean, if you thought the fur coat was bad, you should see the high heels he's got on. But underneath it all, he's still just Izzy from the block. But he showed up, and he wasn't making any excuses. There was no denial or obvious defense mechanisms rushing in to protect a fragile ego.
Well, I'll give him one thing. He knows how to recover. Give me like 3 seconds, 4 more seconds, it would have been over. But I mean, that's what he shoulda, woulda, coulda. Doesn't matter, you know. He's the new champion. Congrats to him.
Did you feel like he was bigger?
Nah.
No.
But I was just happy with my performance. I wasn't happy with the result, but I was happy with my performance.
He also gave credit where credit was due.
It was just my leg. My leg gave away, and it was really annoying. But again, kudos to him. I did the same thing to him. But yeah, he just got me better. I mean, it's another great story for him.
He just got gusto. He recovered. He's a comeback kid. He recovers so well. Gotta give him credit. And I heard the speech today that his corner gave him, and it was a beautiful speech, you know? Like,
the guy wasn't bitter here. Very impressive.
No, I did everything in my power. I meant when I said that before the fight, I was ready for this fight. I was the best I've ever felt. Literally the best I've ever felt.
That's exceptional. Hey, Alex beat the very best version of me. Hats off. All the credit to him. That's the opposite of denial. He was even able to see the positives, the excitement of the show, and went as far as viewing the events from Alex's perspective.
Well, I need to watch the fight again just to enjoy it for what it was.
You will enjoy it.
I think so. I think I'll enjoy this fight watching it back.
Really?
Yeah. I showed, different facets of my game, a crazy contest I was winning until I wasn't. But again, another great story for him.
And critically, he was able to look past the public's perception. So even in the immediate aftermath of the loss, he was able to drown out the noise and focus on the people closest to him, just as he said he would.
Same. I'm still here. I mean, I have my team around me. I already called my family and let them know. I wanted them to know I'm fine.
Surrounded by great people. Still surrounded by love, even more this time, surprisingly.
My parents still love me. My family still love me. My dogs still love me.
Now that's a funny one. He's mentioned that after both of his UFC losses. My dogs will still love me.
And I go back home, my dogs still love me.
My family still loves me. My dogs still love me, so.
Imagine Israel got back to New Zealand and his dogs are just blanking him. They're like, we saw you getting knocked out in TV, lose 3 times to some drunk they drag out the jungle, and you think you can placate us with some doggy treats? Get the fuck out of here, will you? Now, keep your friends close, but your animals closer, because we can always find solace in the complete non-judgment of our domestic pets.
When I go home and I see Toothless and Millie, they're gonna see me and lick me and they'll still love me.
And Israel was able to maintain that perspective even in a loss this devastating. He always implores others to keep the same energy. Well, that's exactly what he did here, under the most adverse conditions. He also had a philosophical take, where despite all the fanfare and the gravitas of a title fight, he was able to view the loss within the larger context of life's losses.
I've had bigger disappointments in my life.
I've had worse things in my life happen to me.
I've had people die who I really care about. Life goes on. I reflect over it. It comes in waves, but then life moves on. Time always just keeps ticking. It don't stop for nobody.
So he wasn't bitter. He was able to see the positives. He appeared to ignore the malevolent tweets, and he showed a lot of gratitude, a recognition that no matter what, he's still winning in life.
It fills me up with so much gusto, so much pride, so much just vibes from the close people in my circle.
I'm grateful. What a life. What a moment. Crazy, isn't it? Like, similar to the last time. Same story. It's crazy.
Yeah, so for me, this camp, I just made sure I was like, everything in my power, I made sure I put into this. And that's what I'm proud of. For the work that I put into this, I didn't get the result I wanted, but I showcased myself in a way that I never before. And
Sometimes this type of perspective can take months or years. Some fighters never get there. So this was impressive. Israel's always talking about arcs. This was a great one for him, because in this perfect loss, we got to take the measure of the man in a manner that we never really could have in victory. And critically, now you've got a plot that might constitute a movie people would actually want to watch. His perspective biopic just went from certified rotten to certified fresh. All it needs now is a solid ending. Although at this point, Israel must be thinking, wait a second, I thought I was the main character. Have I been a background character in Alex Pereira's movie this whole time? Am I gonna be played by some faceless, forgettable actor while they're dressing Jake Gyllenhaal up in feathers and teaching him how to use a bow and arrow? What the fuck is going on here? But that wouldn't be a problem for Israel. We all know about his assets. Long, rangy, technical, creative. He's got the moves like Jagger. I don't get that song. Anyone who's ever seen Mick Jagger dancing knows that that's not a compliment. Guy looks like he's having a seizure. The faces he pulls. If you saw someone dancing like this in a club, you'd have to ask management to have them removed. The whole thing is an eyesore. He might be the first person in history to be so bad at dancing that it actually constitutes a legitimate disability. How did David Bowie sign off on this? But one thing Israel doesn't get enough credit for is his extensive collection of DVDs. And after the Alex loss, he went right home and consulted that extensive collection and pulled out another movie within which to frame a fourth fight.
8 Mile moment.
It's my 8 Mile moment, you know.
One more shot at this.
I'm not gonna miss my chance to blow. You get one shot, do not miss your chance to blow. Once in a lifetime.
Listen, if you had one chance, one opportunity.
Knees weak, arms are heavy.
Mom's spaghetti, palms is sweaty, vomit on my sweater, etc., etc. But while Izzy is dialed into this dramatic 8 Mile moment, Alex is thinking, this isn't even a rivalry. This is just a guy whose ass I keep having to whoop over and over. If this is a movie, it's like fucking Groundhog Day.
And also a lot of people say that, you know what I mean, he's almost winning, he's almost getting there, but you know, I'm winning every time, so.
The significance of the fight for Izzy was captured pretty well by Alex, commenting on the fortuitous timing of WME's acquisition of WWE.
The way that I see it is a place for Adesanya, right? Because what he's gonna do here, he already lost to the light heavyweight, so it's a place for him to go.
True. Where does Israel go with another loss here? 4 losses to the champ, 2 in the UFC. I mean, this is a guy who months prior was forging one of the all-time great careers. Now he's on the brink of being difficult to even market as a challenger. So this was an Eminem moment, because it was either 8 Mile high or 6 feet under. For his career as top dog, this one was do or die. The familiar tension descended on the arena for bout number 4. The fight got off to a cagey start, both guys showing a lot of respect in the first. Alex again landing those punish. Things heat up in a second. He smells blood and descends like the Grim Reaper. Unloading against the fence. Israel covers up, looks like he's in damage control. But then out of nowhere he unleashes and molly-whop the fuck out of his ass. Huge right hand drops the monster. Israel sent him on an impromptu spirit journey. Alex was comparing feathers with his ancestors in the netherrealm.
There's no good or bad people. People are just capable of great good or great evil. And tonight I had to get to that dark side and show him the evil side of me. Get to the dark side so I can show him the light. And he saw the light. He went towards the light.
After 4 vicious fights across 2 different sports, spanning 7 years, Israel finally got to hear the sweet, sweet sound of Alex Pereira's body hitting the floor. Wow, this rivalry was dramatic. High stakes. Bringing any would-be movie to its triumphant end, we have this moment of celebration, catharsis at the top, where he finally overcomes his nemesis. Settles an old score. He also took the time to taunt a kid who had just watched his father getting viciously rendered unconscious for something he did when he was 5 years old.
They say revenge is sweet, and if you know me, I got a sweet tooth.
Yeah, that revenge is sweet, all right. This revenge must have been sweeter than the candy Israel takes from babies who give him dirty looks. But he overcame his biggest rival, and in the aftermath, he succinctly articulated what he feels are the prominent themes in this part of his life: perseverance, self-belief, vision, and defiance of the limitations others try to place upon. Israel also acknowledged that, hey, one man's villain is another man's hero, and once again humbly celebrated Alex and his incredible story.
History!
You know, fighters talk a lot, but it's rare they get such a perfectly constructed and thorough test of their entire character and personality as what Alex Pereira represented here for Israel. It was an amazing chance for him to back up not just his fighting words, but his words about life, and demonstrate the solidity of his personal philosophies. You know, they always say the book is better than the movie. Well, real life is even better than the book, and reality really delivered the perfect sequence of events to add some depth to this story's main character. He was already going down as an all-time great for his skills, but this really made watching the whole thing that much more interesting on a human level, because this whole arc was far more than a triumph of the fighter. It was instead a complete triumph of the man, of Israel Adesanya.